Hi, I'm Tanner. I'm a geology master's student at Bowling Green State University, and today I'm going to be reacting to What If Earth Suddenly Stopped Spinning by XKCD's What If. So I'm very excited to check this out and react to it.
This is a question from Andrew, who asks, what would happen if the Earth and all terrestrial objects suddenly stopped spinning, but the atmosphere retained its velocity? Well, first nearly...
Okay, yeah, I wasn't able to pause it, but I imagine this would be very bad for things on the surface where you have the atmosphere interacting with the ground. So I imagine, well, number one, rip humanity. So I guess probably a lot of people are gonna die because as the physics saying goes, it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop.
Everyone would die. Then things would get interesting.
Okay, so yeah, then it said 2 is looking at geophysics. Yeah, okay, so it's like 1, rip humanity, and then like 2, cool geophysics. So I'm very interested what he's going to talk about with number 2 specifically, because maybe it's going to be about the ocean sloshing around. Maybe it'll be about like the ocean sloshing around, maybe something about the tides and the moon's gravitation changing things. I really don't know.
At the equator, the Earth's surface is moving at about 470 meters per second.
Oh, holy crap, that's crazy.
Relative to its axis.
I don't feel like
if the Earth stops and the air doesn't, the air there will suddenly be moving over the surface at 470 meters per second. For reference, supersonic speed is 343 meters per second. The wind would be highest at the equator, but everyone and everything living between 42 degrees north and 42 degrees south, which includes about 85% of the world's population, would also experience sudden supersonic winds. The high winds would only last for a few minutes near the surface before friction with the ground slowed them down. However, those few minutes would be long enough to reduce virtually all human structures to ruins. Even structures strong enough to survive the winds themselves would be in trouble. As comedian Ron White said about hurricanes, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing.
Oh wow, that's something I never would have thought of. Yeah, especially just picking up buildings and slamming them into other buildings. Unless you're in a bunker, kind of toast. Unless
Say you're in a massive bunker made out of some material which can withstand 1,000-mile-per-hour winds. That's good, and you'd be fine if you were the only one with a bunker. Unfortunately, you probably have neighbors, and if the neighbor upwind of you has a less well-anchored bunker, your bunker will have to withstand a supersonic impact by their bunker. My home in Boston is far enough north to be just barely outside the supersonic wind zone, but the winds here would still be twice as strong as those in the most powerful real-world tornadoes. Buildings would still be smashed flat, torn from their foundations, and sent tumbling across the landscape.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. I'm happy I don't live in that world, and
This would be lower near the poles,
wow.
But no human cities are far enough from the equator to escape devastation. The highest latitude city on the planet is on the island of Svalbard in Norway, and even it would experience winds equal to those in the planet's current strongest tropical cyclones.
Even so, the human race
wouldn't go extinct.
True,
very few people above the surface would survive. The flying debris would pulverize almost everything. However, a lot of people below the surface of the ground would survive the initial event just fine. There would be other lucky survivors, like the scientists and staff at the Amundsen Scott Research Station at the South Pole.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't have
the South Pole
really much of any
relative
wind
to the Earth's axis because it's on the axis. People there would simply lose contact with the outside world. They'd probably be confused until someone noticed that the sun had stopped moving across the sky. Then they'd be really confused. Back at the equator, things would get really weird. Winds sweeping over the oceans would have been churning up and atomizing the surface layer of the water. For a while, the ocean would cease to have a surface at all. It would be impossible to tell where the spray ended and the sea began. As the energy of the blasting wind began to dissipate, it would mostly go into heat. A lot of heat. But oceans are cold. Below the thin surface layer, they're a fairly uniform 4 degrees Celsius. The wind-blown spray would be heated by contact with the hot air and carried up into the layers of air still blowing above, making room for more cold spray, which would be heated and rise, and so on. The subsequent turbulent mixing would likely trigger worldwide thunderstorms.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty terrifying. You just have the surface of the water just completely dissolve. Oh, it's not a place where it's oh, this is the atmosphere, and then this is the ocean. It's just a gradient between them. Wow.
Over the oceans.
Oh.
The wind would also have momentum, which would transfer into waves, which would sweep around the globe, west to east.
Well,
and every west-facing shore
I don't live in this world.
The largest storm surge in world history. It would be like a combination of normal wind-driven waves and a tsunami. A turbulent wall of water would flow ashore, reaching in some places many miles inland. Eventually, a dense blanket of fog would settle over the cold ocean surfaces. Normally, this would cause global temperatures to plummet, and they would, at least on one side of the Earth. If the Earth stopped spinning completely, the normal cycles of day and night would end. The sun wouldn't completely stop moving across the sky, but it would slow down a lot. As the Earth's orbit carried us in a circle, we would see the sun rise and set exactly once a year. Well, not exactly once a year. The momentum of the atmospheric winds would get transferred back to the Earth, starting its spinning again very slowly, since the atmosphere is much lighter than the Earth. Relative to the distant stars,
interesting.
singles...
Okay, so here he's talking about how, like, the atmosphere and its cycles of heating and cooling actually assist in, like, that, would assist in the Earth's acceleration. So that's really interesting. So even if you got it at a standstill, because you have energy entering the atmosphere, it would push and pull the Earth around. So that's crazy, because at least when you look through like the geologic record, the general trend is that Earth's days are getting noticeably shorter, at least over the scale of like billions of years. So in a world where we stop, having it actually start to spin again makes me very curious for like, and I know he can't cover that here, but like very curious for like what kind of forces are slowing us down versus would be making us speed up. So what kind of things are slowing Earth's rotation over like deep time, I guess. So this is very interesting. Just like even if we stopped like fully, there would be mechanisms that would make us go back to spinning. Wow, that's crazy.
The spin of the Earth would now take around 3,000 years to complete. So for all practical purposes, the once per orbit day that lasts a year would win out. Earth would experience 6 months of daylight and 6 months of night. On the day side, the surface would bake under the constant sunlight, while on the night side, the temperature would plummet. Although the length of the day would change, the length of the month would not. The moon hasn't stopped revolving around the Earth. In fact, the moon, our faithful companion, would act to partly undo what Andrew has done. Remember, this is all Andrew's fault. Before Andrew, the Earth's tidal bulge, created by the moon's gravity, slowed down our rotation while dragging the moon into a higher orbit.
That's really interesting.
After Andrew stopped the Earth's rotation, the moon's gravity would tug on the Earth and very, very, very gradually speed us up again just a little while it slowed down. Until eventually, someone could again ask, what if the Earth suddenly stopped rotating? Thank you, moon.
Okay, that was cool.